Are you tired of still not being in the shape that you want and still not sure why you're not progressing? I think I have the answer for you, my friend, because it's something that's so big. Even studies have shown that people who do this are generally healthier. So, in this video, I'm going to be explaining why you should food prep. And I'm also going to explain why I think it's so important and how it can be the very reason that you're not progressing. And to wrap up, I'll give you some general food prep tips and examples for you to consider that will make your kitchen life and food shop easier as well as cheaper. And you did hear that right. Make it even cheaper, because I bet that you have heard that food prep can be expensive. Think of it this way, I could easily make 3 nutritious meals a day for a whole week for about £30, maybe even £20. That sounds like a challenge, but they would be boring and bland as fuck, which would be fine if I lived by myself and I was single. But in my current situation with 2 kids and a wife, I would definitely be flung out the house if I started making things like that. Maybe a challenge for another day. They would be real bodybuilding meals, which isn't really a bad thing. I would not let my family endure it though, but they would tick all the boxes. You just really have to be savvy and thrifty when it comes to your food shop. Nutritious food isn't that expensive. You've just not spent a lot of time looking into it. Also, if you think meat is expensive, but you're happy to spend £7 on a coffee every day, or a packet of Pringles for £3, or paying £3.50 for a protein bar, and that's not even mentioning the money that you spend on booze to drink in your house, cigarettes, vape pens, maybe even drugs, and also going out at the weekend and eating out at restaurants. All this money could go towards buying better food and feeling better overall. It simply blows my mind that people have spent a monumental amount of money on comic books, vinyls, limited edition booze, action figures, etc., but they could not care less about their health. So it's not expensive, my friend. You just prioritise other things. So let's get started. Why should you food prep? And when I say food prep, I mean literally prepping food in advance of eating it. Know those nutters who buy tins of pickles that never go out of date in case there's a nuclear war or something. Doomsday preppers are called. Anyway, I'll give you a bit of a backstory with this. I've cooked almost all my meals since I was about 20 or something. Maybe like 95% of them. And I was doing that even when I was living with my parents. My mum was like, well, if you're cooking your own meals, what am I supposed to be doing? And these are all from scratch. In terms of what you can buy from the shops anyway. I was not making fresh pasta, for example. Even I would draw a line at that. And then when I moved out and I was renting a flat, I then started going to the effort of making meals from cookbooks like Gordon Ramsay's, never actually knowing if it actually tasted like what he was making. And then I realised it was a massive waste of time. I wasn't getting many girls, and I think it was also because I realised I'm not that pretentious around food. I probably get the same satisfaction from my Witherspoons as I do from a Miller and Cara, which is kind of alarming. I'm just not that picky. Anyway, this admission of cooking early on isn't that impressive. Many have done it before and started earlier, but it did make me realise that I put my overall health in my hands when I was cooking. I won't lie as well. The other reason I started is so I could look bigger. Do you think it worked? It also made me realise as well, if I ate in a certain way, I could eat crisps every day. What's actually scary is there are middle-aged folk out there who still can't cook. Mental, right? 35-year-old and you still can't cook. What have you been doing with your life? The reason I'm actually telling you this is I think what most of you want out there is simple food that tastes good, and bonus points if it's nutritious as well. Look at Sean Casey and how popular his wrap and air fryer cookbooks have become. And bonus points as well if these kind of foods saves you money, which food prep does do, because when I started doing it, I was on apprentice wages and needed all the money I could get. I bet most of you as well don't even know what's in your food most of the time in terms of vegetables and nutrition, because your saint of a partner makes it for you. You obviously don't have to meal prep, but it could be the difference between you consistently eating well and you sporadically eating well only when you can be bothered cooking. And we're going to talk about how you can make it so simple it is daft if you don't do it. But what is also daft is you not signing up to my free meals, because I send out 31 of them over 31 days. That helps you lose the weight that you've always wanted, and it also helps you keep it off long term. And the main reason behind making them is it lets you beat up your kids. I mean, play with them without getting out of breath, just so they know who's boss. So anyway, now that I have your attention, can it really be that important? If you imagine these two scenarios, right? Winging your meals on a daily basis with no structure or plan on what you eat, or organised meals for breakfast, lunch and dinner for the whole week. What do you think the healthy version of you that you have pictured in your mind would be doing? Because most of you out there are following the first scenario. And you might think the second one sounds boring, but you know what isn't boring, friend? Your health. And people who call it boring have zero concept of what healthy actually means to them. Everyone would be getting their shit together in terms of their health if they had clear instructions on how to do it, but they don't. And that is a fact with all the terrible information you can find on the internet. And obviously these unorganised meals could be either your lunch or your dinner. It'll be a mix between the two where you fail. Some people will organise a lunch, but then they wing their dinner and just head out or order food in. Others will have their dinner sorted out every night, but not take lunch with them to their work, and then they buy it in when they head out for the break. Before I was thinking there must be a direct correlation between people who make mostly home-cooked meals, they must generally be healthy overall. And according to these studies, there is. Because either of the situations I mentioned before could be the difference between you eating or saving thousands of calories a day. And the only way that scenario one actually succeeds is if you've been doing this for years, but you have not. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be watching this. So if you're asking me how important it is, I would say it is, because it plays a massive part. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making this video. It's probably the place where most people fail their diets. I would even hazard a guess it's the very reason you're not progressing. And a lot of you might disagree, which is fine. You're allowed to be wrong. Because sure, you might just say, well, James, it's actually because I snack on chocolate and crisps and whatever else. Or you might say, I blow off the gym too often. The usual excuses, you know. But don't you think the reason you're maybe snacking more is because the meals you already have don't fulfill and satisfy you enough until your next meal? Or don't you think that you would go to the gym if you had food choices that give you more energy? Because if you already have meals made for you and they're with you at the same time, your decision for your dinner has already been made. The food is literally there in a box. And if you bin it and go out for lunch, you are literally wasting your own money and energy when you made it. So it's a net negative choice for you. You could head out and buy a 1200 calorie pizza and a 200 calorie bottle of juice, or eat your ready-made 600 calorie nutritious lunch. But this could just be part of the many things you need to address. I mentioned earlier that one of the biggest reasons I eat so well is because I just make easy things. If you're ever at my house, you will not see any fancy meals made. You will likely see a bunch of stuff thrown in the slow cooker, especially for large amounts of people. My kid is so ruthless just now. She has no problem turning a meal down that took me 5 hours, which she has done in the past. So when I made a massive roast for the family, but she'll dive head deep into a plain bowl of pasta or toast with zero issues. Despite that, the main reason we now have home-cooked meals more than ever is we have kids that thrive on eating well. Maybe the reason why my 5-year-old is age 10 clothes, because she's that tall. Because it's a bit of a disservice to your kid if you feed them dog shit food, in my opinion. It's even borderline neglection. Your kid eats shit while you'll happily spend 20 quid on a bottle of wine. How is that fair? Maybe another reason why I cook all the time. And it might be because I enjoy it, but I think I enjoy it because it makes me feel good, rather than the technical side of it. Despite over a decade of cooking, my skills are not that exciting. You know what's also bizarre as well? Your parents and grandparents would have made homemade food whenever they could. I mean, Mama making a spaghetti bolognese, pasta dishes, stovies, homemade soup, etc. Where has the lessons that we learnt from them went in this current generation? So you were lucky enough to have as much home cooked meals as your parents could possibly make during a time it was harder to do, because they didn't have slow cookers and things like that. But you don't think you should treat your kids the same? Mental. And I'm coming across massively preachy here, but cooking food isn't that hard. Laziness and selfishness is the only reason I can think of as to why you don't do it. But unfortunately, general health isn't just a one area kind of thing. It's a beast with multiple heads that need constant attention. And what better way to address a massive one like home cooked meals by making it incredibly easy? And that's the reason why I've made this video, is to help make cooking homemade meals easier. So easy, you can't really fail. Now you might be asking, how easy can it be, James? I'm going to give you a bunch of tips here, and I'm going to leave my favourite one to last, and the one I think will be the most popular, because it is the laziest way of cooking meals. I tell a lie actually. The first one might be even lazier than that, because it does require zero effort from you, and it's using food prep companies. I'm not that big a fan of them, because they are quite expensive, but some people can justify the costs, because they might lack the time they have to make stuff because of work or travelling and things like that, and they might be happy to spend the money on it. They also maybe just in general would rather be doing something else than standing in the kitchen. And some people might say that these kind of meals could be the difference between them staying on track or ordering a takeaway. So each to their own. Meal prep companies are really good for inspiration. You can use them for ideas, because if they're making food in a box and then sending it to you over the course of a few days, I bet you can make the exact same and it tasted better. Another one is using frozen foods. There is nothing wrong with them. Easy, convenient, and arguably better than buying it fresh and it then being unusable in a couple of days when it goes off. Obviously prepping does require some attention, so set a little bit of time aside to do it. A common day to do it is on a Sunday for your week ahead. So the most popular and simplest one is probably bulk cooking for any idiots out there. That means cooking large portions of food and then storing them, most likely in containers. You honestly only need 5 or 6 ingredients to make a decent batch. You know, meat, sauce, 3 or 4 vegetables, and a carb for dinner. Or oats, milk, some fruit, yogurt, whey protein for breakfast. It can be that simple. And your recipes could be something like fajita chicken, pesto pasta, or stir fry. Just depends what you're into. But if you lack inspiration, there's plenty of cookbooks on Amazon for like air fryers and slow cookers now. I don't bulk cook that much now, because I have a family that aren't keen on eating the same thing twice. They are a picky bunch. If I was going to take my own advice, I'd just freeze leftovers and use them the following week, which I might do now since we're speaking about it. And you obviously could too. And if you don't want to make the full meals at once, you can batch cook certain things like the chicken or the pasta or the rice, for example. There is a reason why I slow cook 2 kilos of chicken at a time, because it does mean I have a versatile cooked protein source in my fridge as and when I need it. Another quick one is add some variety every now and again. I don't think it's a good idea to be eating the same meal every night. You do need to live a little, don't you? It also makes sure that you're getting a variety of vitamins and minerals from different food sources. It is also borderline depressing to eat the exact same meal every single day in a family setting. Chicken, rice and broccoli, again Dad, that would not go down well. And I would also like to think you're better than that. But the best way to bulk cook in my opinion is using a slow cooker. If you don't have one, or you don't cream your pants over it like I do, just sling a bunch of this stuff in your oven or air fryer. It works just as well. Slow cooker is just for convenience. And then just portion it out and freeze it. I guess the biggest bit of advice I'm trying to give you is have a plan, or at least make one. It's the single biggest difference between you having a good week or a bad week. And you also already know this advice. I'm just reminding you. The idea of these techniques is trying to make food so easy to make, it's embarrassing if you don't. And take a very big and easy box that's required to help you get in the shape that you want. I've thrown some free emails together for you to make your own bespoke diet and training plan, and all I need is your email address. It covers all things from including social events without ditching the booze. It also gives you advice on how to stay on track around your frantic work and home life, advice on eating out if you're travelling for work, etc. All for free, and the details details are below. But now we've got food prep sorted, you now need the ingredients for it, meaning you have to go to the supermarket and actually see other people. But don't worry friend, I do have you covered, because you can watch this video right here which will give you help with your food shop. Learn on how to food prep, but buying foods that are not conducive towards your goal, it's like building a wall and using poop for cement. It is only going to end one way, my friend. So that video is to help make food shop even easier and cheaper if you're not a fan of it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next video.